Did you know that there are bad companion plants for beets that can hinder their growth? The first bad companion plant for beets is pole beans. These tall, climbing legumes might seem like innocent garden companions, but they actually compete aggressively with beets for essential nutrients in the soil. Moreover, pole beans cast significant shade that can prevent your beets from receiving the full sunlight they desperately need to develop properly. Consequently, when planted too close together, your once promising beet crop might struggle to form those delicious ruby-red roots that gardeners cherish. Furthermore, mustard plants pose another serious threat to your beet patch. These pungent brassicas release certain compounds into the soil that can substantially inhibit beet growth. Additionally, mustard plants are notorious for attracting flea beetles, which can swiftly hop over to your vulnerable beet leaves and cause unsightly damage. Therefore, it's generally wise to maintain considerable distance between your mustard and beet plantings to ensure both crops thrive independently. Interestingly, despite being fellow root vegetables, potatoes should never be planted near beets. Both crops are heavy feeders and will undoubtedly compete fiercely for the same nutrients. Besides this obvious competition, potatoes are particularly susceptible to scab disease, which can unfortunately spread to nearby beets through the soil. Subsequently, your carefully tended beets might develop rough, corky patches that significantly reduce their quality and storage potential. Similarly, charming sunflowers make surprisingly poor neighbors for beet plants. While these towering beauties might seem harmless, they actually release allelopathic compounds that can inhibit the germination and growth of nearby plants, including beets. Furthermore, their massive root systems aggressively compete for water and nutrients, while their impressive height creates extensive shade that can dramatically reduce the sunlight reaching your beet patch. Consequently, your beets might end up small, misshapen, or failing to develop properly. Another problematic companion is the humble radish when allowed to flower. Although quick harvest radishes can work well with beets, mature radishes that bolt and flower can crossbreed with beets since they belong to the same plant family. This unexpected botanical relationship can lead to reduced seed quality if you're planning to save beet seeds. Moreover, flowering radishes attract specific pests that might subsequently damage your precious beet crop. Surprisingly, even seemingly innocent lettuce can negatively impact beet growth when planted too closely. Both plants have shallow root systems that inevitably compete for water and nutrients in the same soil layer. Additionally, dense lettuce plantings can create a humid microclimate that potentially encourages fungal diseases that might spread to your nearby beets. Therefore, despite their popularity as salad companions on the plate, these two vegetables should maintain a respectful distance in the garden. Chives and other alliums, despite their pest-repelling reputation, can sometimes hinder beet development. The strong aromatic compounds that make chives excellent companions for many plants can occasionally stunt beet growth. Furthermore, alliums and beets have somewhat different watering needs, which makes caring for both simultaneously rather challenging when they're planted in close proximity. Chard, interestingly, should be kept away from beets despite being botanically related. In fact, they're essentially the same species. This close relationship creates significant competition for identical resources. Moreover, diseases can spread rapidly between these botanical cousins. Additionally, pests that favor one will undoubtedly be attracted to the other, creating a potentially devastating infestation throughout your garden bed. Undoubtedly, fennel ranks among the worst companions for almost any vegetable, including beets. This Mediterranean herb releases strong allelopathic compounds that inhibit the growth of numerous neighboring plants. Besides this chemical warfare, fennel attracts specific beneficial insects that, while helpful for fennel, don't necessarily benefit beets. Consequently, fennel is best grown in isolation far away from your precious beet patch. Kohlrabi, another brassica family member, competes intensely with beets when planted nearby. Both vegetables are bulb-forming plants that require ample space and nutrients to develop properly. Furthermore, kohlrabi's shallow root system will inevitably tangle with beet roots, leading to misshapen vegetables. Therefore, despite their compatibility in recipes, these two vegetables should remain separated in your garden plots. Corn presents another challenging neighbor for beets. The tall stalks cast extensive shade that prevents sufficient sunlight from reaching your beet plants. Additionally, corn is a notoriously heavy feeder that depletes soil nitrogen rapidly, leaving little for neighboring plants. Consequently, beets grown near corn often develop small woody roots with disappointing flavor and texture. Similarly, asparagus and beets make poor garden companions. Established asparagus beds have extensive root systems that aggressively compete with nearby plants. Moreover, asparagus prefers slightly alkaline soil while beets generally prefer neutral to slightly acidic conditions. This fundamental soil preference difference creates a challenging environment where neither plant can truly thrive when forced to grow together. Perhaps surprisingly, strawberries should not be planted near beets. These popular berries spread through runners that can quickly invade beet rows, creating unwanted competition and making harvest difficult. Additionally, strawberries and beets attract different beneficial insects, creating a confused ecological environment that serves neither plant particularly well. Intriguingly, most members of the squash family, including zucchini, pumpkins, and cucumbers, make poor companions for beets. Their sprawling growth habit and large leaves can quickly overshadow beet plants, blocking essential sunlight. Furthermore, these aggressive vines often harbor powdery mildew that can spread to beet foliage in favorable conditions. Consequently, your once promising beet harvest might be significantly reduced when these incompatible plants share garden space. Surprisingly, tomatoes, despite being garden favorites, should be kept away from beets. The solanine compounds that tomato plants naturally produce can inhibit beet germination and growth. Moreover, tomatoes are susceptible to various soil-borne diseases that can potentially spread to nearby beets. Therefore, despite their popularity, these two vegetables require separate growing areas for optimal results. In conclusion, successful beet cultivation requires thoughtful planning about neighboring plants. While many companion planting guides focus primarily on beneficial relationships, understanding these negative interactions is equally important for garden success. By keeping beets away from these problematic companions, pole beans, mustard potatoes, sunflowers, mature radishes, lettuce, chives, chard, fennel, kohlrabi, corn, asparagus, strawberries, squash, family members, and tomatoes, you'll create an environment where your beets can develop those perfect sweet roots that make this vegetable so beloved by gardeners worldwide.